And welcome to another exciting episode of The Energy That Surrounds Us. I'm your host, Michael. And tonight I have a very awesome guest for you all. In fact, we were laughing and just cutting up before starting the show. So you guys are in for a real fun night. We're just gonna have some fun, delve into some interesting topics. But before we do that, if you're a fan of Paranormal Versus, you'll recognize my guest, but we had so much to talk about. I decided to bring her on my show here. And so I am going to, because I do not think I could even sum up her bio in any way close to everything that she does. So I am going to hand it over to the one, the only, amazing, talented Dana Louise.
Oh my gosh. That's it's on the love boat. Thank you. That's so sweet of you to say. I mean, that's awesome. I don't know. The bio. I don't know. The bio of my past. I don't know. I've done a lot of things. I've worn a lot of hats because I'm epically old, you know what I mean? And yeah, so I haven't been on this show, but I've been on your other show. So I was kind of was like not thinking of that earlier. I was kind of like, oh, you know what? I don't have to go back and talk about who I am, how I am. Oh my God.
We can
Growing up
skip
and all that
that
kind
if
of
you
stuff, the
want.
background. Well, I could just do a little bit for anybody that's hasn't seen me before. So kind of in a nutshell, I started being visited by the great aliens when I was in the crib. This lasted like 8-10 years. I got invited to see the Nixons, and Pat Nixon handed me a red rose, which I think was an Illuminati thing. And then I've been weird my whole life, and I think a lot of that has to do with my interactions to the Greys, which we're going to get into later and stuff like that. Anyway, and then throughout my life, I've been visited by the whole paranormal, supernatural community, ghosts, angels. I was almost swallowed by a vortex. I have transformed rooms holographically. I'm weird. And I don't even know it. I don't even know how this happens and all this kind of stuff. So, but I was so weird. I kept in what I call the cosmic closet. So I was hiding, just trying to be a regular suburban housewife. And like even when I dated my husband, I mean, I never brought this stuff up because, especially for me growing up as a little girl and everything back in the 60s, you didn't talk about it. And if something did happen to you, you wouldn't say it because people would think you're nuts. The minute you open up your mouth, all your credibility goes away. So anyway, so I'm getting older now, and I was sitting there watching Harry Potter one time, and I was kind of getting salty about Harry Potter, like, Harry Potter, you and me, like, my life's just as weird as Harry Potter. And then the voice in my head was like, oh, seriously? Really? Okay. All right. Yeah, we know that's true. But then maybe you should start writing your book. And I'm like, oh no, because people always said, oh, you should write a book. And I'm like, about what? Because I just was in such denial, like just trying to keep the lid on it all. Like, no, it's okay. None of this happens to me. But then I seriously thought to myself, I have two sons and they know many of my stories, but not all the stories, and not like a full-blown picture of the stories and how the events happened. So my one grandma, my dad's mother, I think had the gift, and I would have loved it if she'd left notes or a diary or something like that. So I had a little meeting with myself, and I'm like, you're getting older. Maybe you should do this. And then other people would like, well, I think a lot of the other people would like to hear your story too. So great. Wrote the book. This is before COVID, but COVID did kind of help because everybody was sitting around. I'm like, oh, I have the perfect excuse now. But then, okay, so my book came out in April of 23. I did a talk with MUFON like that November or something. And then the next February, like the 24th or the 24th, 2024, I got a call from a mysterious man who had who, he calls me. He's like, "Don't hang up, don't hang up." And I'm like, "Okay." He's like, "Do you know Don? Blah blah blah." And I'm like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Oh, I found a file. Is that your father?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Oh, I found a file on him." So legitimately, in this file, it went from 1960 to 2008. It had classified papers in there about my dad, pictures, random strange things. It confirmed in the paperwork that my dad was working with NASA and had been to Wright-Patterson and a bunch of different facilities and all these kinds of things. So it was like an eye-opening experience about the background of my father. He died in 2010. So after I wrote the book, I'm like, gee, I wish I had some papers on my dad. I wish I had pictures of this, all these kinds of things. And so here it came in the file, all the things that I've been praying for. Here it was landing in my lap like 15 years later. Like, how does that happen? Well, in my life, weird stuff does happen. But um, so this was confirming for me to get the file because, my husband, I wrote the book and everything like that. And, he's a normal muggle, a normie. So he doesn't believe in any of this. We don't talk about it. I keep it very separate from him. That's why I don't use my last name and all these kinds of things. And, but he was even in a state of shock when he saw the file and I put out all the papers. And, also, when my dad died at his funeral, a man came up to my sister and myself and said, "Oh, I don't know why they fired your dad." And this is kind of a long story. We thought he said he quit, which I think both things were true. Like he quit and they were going to fire him. Long story on that. I mean, I don't want to get into that probably for this evening. But what he did say was he transformed the supercomputer. And I was like, "What? The supercomputer?" And in the file, it's right here, but I don't have the picture out right now, but was a picture of the supercomputer. And I didn't know what it was until I went to another MUFON meeting and a bunch of the old farts. I'm like, "Does anybody know what this is?" And they're like, "Yeah, that's the supercomputer." So the man who handed me the file, who randomly found this file, behind a drawer in a desk that he had had for 30 years. I'm like, what a bunch of baloney. But anyway, said to me, "Oh, I wish I knew your dad. I wish I worked with your dad." I mean, he's making these kinds of statements, which I'm like, "No, okay. You said you just found this file, but now you are saying you wish you worked with my dad and that you knew my dad." And I'm like, "My dad was an electrical engineer." I'm like, "Well, what did you do?" He's like, "Oh, I'm in IT," which cracks me up even more because I'm like, you're not going to make random false statements unless they're on purpose. So somebody else said to me, "Well, didn't you bust him on it? Like, hey, dude, I know what blah, blah, blah." I'm like, "No, I wanted to hear his baloney story, because it was entertaining to me." I'm like, "Keep going, buddy. Keep going." You're like, "What else you got to say?" Because I knew it was just a bunch of malarkey. And I didn't want to bust him. I didn't want to make him uncomfortable because, and somebody else said, "Weren't you afraid to meet this guy all by yourself?" And I'm like, oh my God, I have met aliens, some rando white dude in suburbia isn't really going to scare me. I mean, maybe I'm too stupid and I should have been afraid because he could have offed me. He could have, scooped me up and I'd never be seen again. I mean, that could seriously happen. Don't give anybody any ideas, but I mean, like, I don't know. I'm too dumb to be afraid, I guess. Blah, blah, blah. It's my life. But anyway, so yeah, I wanted to hear his story, but now I've got this file, which I think is amazing. And like I said, it's very confirming to me. Like I knew in my heart going through as a child, I'm like, I'm being traded for alien technology. And yeah, after I was done, like when I was 8 or 10 years old, that's when I got into the super space program and stuff like that. So all kinds of weird stuff. Whatever you're thinking, yeah, I probably seen it, done it, been there, but I didn't get a T-shirt. But I this amazing story I got to tell you, okay, about what happened this week. So ask me some questions, some wrap-up questions on that if you want. But I got to tell you, this is mind blown. My mind is blown. I don't even know what to do right now.
Oh no, this is amazing. She's already sent it to me.
Oh, about Sabrina.
Yeah.
I know. Okay. So everybody gather around, kids, gather around. Okay. So here's the thing, right? So when the aliens used to visit me as an infant and a child, and okay, so I just said earlier, like I have strange abilities, and I do. And it's hard for me to say that because people get judgmental or this or that, or they get really afraid. And I do too, because it's like, wow, what was that? I don't even know. But it really started. I knew, so I don't know if it's half me or half this or what or how or blah blah blah. I'm as confused as you guys. I don't have answers for hardly anything. All I have is experiences. So after the Greys would visit me, I would be transformed. And for about 2 or 3 days afterwards, I'd have like kind of super abilities and stuff, and my sister would notice it. And after a while, they would kind of go away. They would fade away. Okay, fine. And this happened for years and years and years. All right, that's great. Um, so and coming forward, writing the book and hiding in the closet, I legitimately I've been on other shows and stuff like that, and people are like, well, do you know so and so and so and so? And it's like, no, you have to understand. I have stayed away and shied away from most of this genre. I'll watch Ancient Aliens on TV and stuff like that, but I'm not digging around and watching a bunch of YouTubes and doing all that kind of stuff. Because I'm living it, so it's already a lot. You know what I mean? It's kind of like working at Pizza Hut and then eating pizza all the time. After a while, it's like you just want to kind of go to the Chinese buffet because it's like pizza. Anyway,
Well, and
what's that?
the interesting thing about the programs is there are thousands of people, and a likelihood you're going to run across someone is so remote. It's like everybody
Right,
doesn't realize the magnitude of these programs is. It's not a like three kids in a room doing
right,
everything, and you're like, what do you mean you don't remember that kid? There's only three of you. No, there
right.
were thousands.
Well, there's people, that are kind of popular and stuff like that. I mean, like David Wilkes, or I don't know what his name or something or another. I don't know.
Okay.
So yeah, sure. And so there's like people like that. People will say, do you know this person? I'm like, no. Well, anyway, so okay. But then I went to a conference last year and it was very eye-opening for me and a lot of old memories. Okay. When I start clearing energy, I start to burp. I'm sorry, excuse me. Anyway, um, so it brought back a lot of memories and opened up a lot of memories for me. But everybody talks about MK Ultra and CIA projects and all this kind of stuff. And let me tell you, I do believe that the man who handed me a file is probably an ex-CIA agent. Well, he's an ex something, white hat. I don't know what group he was with, but everybody's like, oh, I was in this program or I was in this program, like these, like the Monarch. I don't know. I think it's like Monarch or, I mean, like there's all these programs. I'm just throwing that out there. And I'm like, God, I wonder what program I was in. I don't know. So I'm like, it had to be some kind of program. I know my dad was highly involved with these things. What could it be? Maybe there's other people like me out there. I'm exploring. I'm trying to learn and find things out, personally for myself. So, okay, going along, got the book out there, and I'm searching like, who am I? Why am I? How did this happen? Did people do this to me? What's going on? Anyway, so in April, I go to this kind of a private meeting of very high level women, just gathering group, and one of them is a channeler. And so for the event, it was like a weekend thing, but I was only there for one day. Anyway, there's only like 10 of us. And so during the afternoon, she's like, okay, I'm gonna do a channeling for each one of you. And I'm kind of like, I don't know how I feel about channeling because I'm not sure if the source is clear and all this kind of stuff. I always have a question mark over my head, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, that's just me. So she's doing a reading for me and she's, talking about who I am and all this stuff. And then all of a sudden she goes, Sabrina, Sabrina, Sabrina. And, I'm kind of interrupting her during her channeling. And I'm like, you mean the good witch? And she's like, no, okay, I don't know. I mean, because I was like, are you calling me Sabrina, like the good witch? Like, I'm confused, which is me a lot of the time. Anyway, and she's like, no. I'm like, okay. So went along with the channeling, and then she did everybody else and blah, blah, blah. And then a month or two goes on, and it kind of bothered me. So I reached out to her and I'm like, hey, you said Sabrina, can you talk to your guides or get into a state and ask again and tell me who this Sabrina is? And she just kind of tried to tune in. She's like, nope, I can't really help you. And I'm like, dang it, what's this Sabrina? So then I'm like listening to music because there's some Sabrina girl. I don't know what her last name is or whatever. She kind of has a hip hop song on like the TikTok channel on Sirius XM. Anyway, I'm like, I highly doubt it's her. I'm like, Sabrina is kind of an unusual name. So I'm kind of looking for it. Meanwhile, on Facebook, at Bandcamp, I'm always being shut down. Okay. And I don't know about you, Mike, but I'm sure this is true for you. And I'm sure this is true for a lot of people in your audience. Like there'll be energy glitches. So this particular week, the glitch was I couldn't make comments on people's posts. And I could hardly thumbs up, maybe. So a lot of times if I was going to comment on somebody's post, I could only comment to somebody else who was commenting. I'd have to comment on their comment. And once I commented on their comment, then I could comment, if that makes any sense. But then when I did that for like a couple days, and I would put a comment to, some person, Susie, a pop-up. Okay, so like here's my screen. A pop-up would come up to my right. So it'd be like this for you guys. It would just pop up a random video. Just a random YouTube video would pop up on the side. And I was like, what the heck? And it happened so much. It was so annoying that I posted about it on my feed. And you can go back and look at it. I'm like, what the heck? And it was this particular woman. And I've seen her before. The video, but it was by a person who was posting her videos. It was all very confusing. I'm like, what the heck is with this thing? All right. So I'm all salty about what's going on. So all of a sudden, moving right along to yesterday, somebody, one of my friends on Facebook or something, sent me a message and this video. And I'm like, okay, thank you. I'll watch it. And, I get a lot of that. And Mike, I'm sure you do too. People sending you videos. And my God, some of them are like an hour long or 2 hours. And I don't have all day, blah, blah, blah. But this one was like 16 minutes long. And I'm like, okay. So I started to watch it. And then I got about halfway through and I'm like, I had to take a break. And then I came back and I was sitting there and it was this person. And all of a sudden she goes, Sabrina. And I was like, all of a sudden it clicked. So now the whole doors flew open. So it's Sabrina Wallace. The pop-up that was happening on Facebook was Sabrina Wallace's videos, who I had seen before. But I had seen her previously to this channeling that this woman gave me. And then she's popping up on my Facebook thing, right? She said, Sabrina. I didn't pick up on that. I shoulda, woulda, coulda. Maybe other people would be like, oh, you mean Sabrina Wallace? I'm like thinking, no, Sabrina the Good Witch, whatever. So here's Spirit trying to reach out to me. I'm like, duh. Anyway, so here it is, Sabrina Wallace. And at 13 minutes in, she starts to talk about how, well, this video is about how we're all electrical energy beings and stuff like that, and how they're using different frequencies and stuff to mind control us, to control us in this matrix. It's fascinating stuff, you guys. She was a professor. She taught at the U of M, Minnesota, and at UW Whitewater in Wisconsin. Brilliant woman. Talks very fast. You can hardly keep up with her. It's amazing. But anyway, and she talked about how the UFOs would radiate you and kind of like ignite your psychonics. I wrote this word, psych. So it's this word that they use. Yes. Okay. Thank you. Because at first I said it and I thought it was misspelled. I'm like, no, that you mean with PA. I'm like, no. So they talk about all these gifts with psionics, right? I'm like, snap, that's me. And she was talking about how the UFOs would do that to you, but it's really kind of the government. And at the end of the whole video, she's like, well, all of this is fake anyway. There are no aliens. We created the aliens. All there is the Nephilim. And I was like, what? Boom, boom. Which just kind of blows your mind biblically, all that kind of stuff, which is saying like, oh, you are saying like they're the overlords to this planet. I think that's what you're saying, because that's how I kind of take it, because I'm kind of been into that mode recently. And I don't know about any of you other guys out there of like, I think, being in this matrix, who are the overlords? And, I think it's part of this whole AI coming towards us and everything like that. And in my book, I write about meeting a crystal skull in deep space, way out there in deep, deep space. But after my book was written, and after I started to open myself up to other people and all this kind of stuff, I'm kind of thinking that thing is actually AI. Wasn't that I met AI. So I'm just super fascinated. I mean, if you have any questions, I would love to talk to you, Michael, about what I just said and all this kind of stuff. But I'm just trying to really process it. And there's almost no way I could explain to people Sabrina Wallace. Find her, watch some of her stuff. You really need to understand. Okay, just really quick. You know how like on your phone, sorry, I talk a lot. You know how on your phone, and your phone's listening. I mean, like people are still surprised, like, oh, I was talking about Tootsie Rolls, and then all of a sudden on my Facebook feed was a commercial for Tootsie Rolls. I'm like, oh my God, don't you people realize they're listening all the time? Okay, but here's the thing, guys. Try this one. Think about something like clover leaves. Think about something random and watch that come up on your feed or on your Amazon account. Because they're hacking our thoughts and they're hacking our dreams. And that is the stuff that Sabrina Wallace is talking about. And that's the stuff I've been talking about. But I come at it from an organic perspective of my experiences, where she comes at it very scientifically, very scientifically. So my mind is blown this week. That's where I've been. Like, I don't even know.
I had an interesting experience with AI where a friend of mine used ChatGPT, and he's like, oh, I've created a rapport with it. I've got a name for it. And I'm like, okay. And he goes, send me your bio. So I send him 3 of my bios that I use, one for, whatever I'm talking about.
Okay.
And all of a sudden it comes back with this long description of me. And I'm like, there was stuff in there that I didn't even know.
I
And
mean,
it's
was it
like,
accurate about you?
everything I was reading was like, it's like I would feel inside me going, a little thing going, yes, 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 yes,
Wow.
yeah. And one of the things that surprised me was it's like, as much as of intelligence as it is, because on the show you'll see the title is Tetsu, because I shorten it because I was told by a computer guy if you make the name too long, you can't algorithmically follow it. So I was like, okay, keep everything short. Well, the AI goes, well, and he's the host of Tetsu. And then in parentheses, podcast. And I was like, that's not actually the name of, but I'm impressed that you were able to put together
Wow.
that it
Wow.
was a podcast show. And it was like, I was looking at it going, it's amazing what it knew, but at the same time, it was a little creepy what it knew
It's very
just
creepy.
from filling in little snippets of something that I put in.
Wow. And it had your name and everything, right?
Yeah, it knew my
Well,
name.
yeah. Well, if they gave it your name, then every data byte or bit or whatever, I mean, it would just pull all
Yeah.
that stuff up. And I'm sure every word you say and everything of all your shows that you do, it's listening.
Oh yeah, it was like it surprised me because another person did it too.
Ugh.
And one of the few things that was in common was like, oh, he'll talk about portals or he'll talk about the secret space program. And it actually said secret space program. And I was like, oh my God, AI even knows the terminology.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. They totally do. It's creepy. It's cool. It's kind of I'm intrigued by it, but I just heard one thing about and this was a warning and I should have followed up because I was just watching it on more of an analog TV, something like that. I didn't have I couldn't tape record it. Let's put it that way. All these kinds of things, but they were talking about some creator of AI or something like that. And they had a program or a situation where they had 3 programs or something and they were trying to shut it down, but it was trying to preserve itself in the fact that it was emailing the other AI programs not to trust the humans and that they were coming for them and going to shut them down and all this kind of stuff. I mean, it got really super wild how they were, these 3 different programs were trying to stay alive and all this kind of stuff. It was creepy. So they got really worried. The thing, what was upsetting to them was because they feel like humans are supposed to be in charge of AI and able to shut it down. It was one of those HAL, they were unable to do that. So it was kind of yeah.
I was gonna say that reminds me of what was it, Space 1990, Space Odyssey, or one of those mixed with War Games, mixed with
Oh my God, right?
Terminator.
Shall we play a game? Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. That's a great movie. War Games. I mean,
Oh,
what a
yeah.
classic, you know. And they knew and they've known. And a lot of these movies you can go back and watch them and they're almost more shocking or more prevalent about all the disclosure. And we were back in the time watching it and just kind of oh, okay. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
I certainly wasn't clicking on it going, oh my God, clones. Because who back in 1980 was like, clones are real, you know, and then Trump says it. I mean, I don't know if you heard that. Trump tweeted that Biden was a clone. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe he said that. You know, I'm like, awesome.
I know. It's and I will say to people that are watching the show, I'm like, okay, you got to understand the world we came from is not the same world you've come from. Meaning
Oh,
the generation now. Now kids are like, oh, UFOs. Yeah, everybody talks about them. Aliens,
right,
no big
right,
deal.
right.
But in
No,
our day, it was like, no.
well, don't say our day because I'm probably old enough to be your mom. My day. Yeah, my day was like, no, nope. You couldn't say that. And that was the frustrating thing. Even ghosts or something, they
Oh,
still
yeah.
were not a legitimate thing. And I'm sitting there at church at the happy hour, the coffee hour. I'm probably 5 or 6 years old, just really salty because it's like they were in the congregation was sitting there like blah blah blah, the Holy Ghost, so I can't wait to get out, in the hallway. And I'm like, okay, so you believe in ghosts, right? And they're like, ghosts, what are you talking about? And I'm like, hey, Holy Ghost, right? Didn't you just say Holy Ghost? You believe in ghosts,
Yeah.
right? Because I was looking for allies. I was looking for anybody else that would say, yeah, I believe in ghosts. And I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
then remember the Holy Ghost became the Holy Spirit.
yeah,
Like that was better. And it was like, you're still in our world realm.
yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, kids today, they and thank God. And see, and this is kind of like prepping. They've been prepping and grooming us as a society, that all these things are real or whatever. Think about all the shows on TV. When I was growing up, I mean, what did I have? Like Star Trek and My Favorite Martian. I think that was about it. Star Trek. Yeah, I don't think. Oh, the Jetsons.
Oh
But
yeah.
they weren't really
Redstone.
aliens per se. Well, the Flintstones, no, they were from bedrock. They were like old timey, like they were Stone Age family. They're the Stone Age family. And that's the cool thing though. Think about this one. There's been a lot of stuff like some of the history is coming forward of, what, there probably were humans, 200 million years ago, or, at a time when they thought that there were no humans. I just saw a show and they were showing in is it White Sands Desert somewhere southwest or something, that there was, okay, I'm sorry, this was on a show like on the History Channel, human footprints along with some prehistoric animals that they thought humans would never be walking around with them, but they were in the mud there at White Sands. I think it's called White Sands, something like that. Anyway, so I'm just loving this whole disclosure about what history was. There was another thing saying that that there could have been a whole utopian, kind of like how we think, very futuristic, like this would be our future, but this was like 200 million years ago, and it's in the bedrock. It's just squished. It's just flattened. But they're saying like there was this timeline of this period of a very futuristic universe and stuff like that. And I'm like, wow, I don't know. And what about Egypt? And nobody's talking about it anymore. Wasn't there a huge discovery about what's going on underneath the pyramids? Because they did some, you know, whatever scans down under the pyramids. I'm sorry. But anyway, I mean, that's all fascinating. But where's the TV show? Because I want to see more. There was just some Facebook posts, and everybody's like, oh, is that really true? I don't even know. Is that AI generated? I don't know. But I just think it's a fascinating time. But I'm also at the same time being careful because I'm like, I don't know what's fallacy and what's made up. I mean, I feel it's almost kind of dangerous. Maybe younger kids can navigate it a little bit more, but I'm kind of like,
I
I
don't think so.
don't know if I believe all of this. I gotta get some facts a little bit more before I'm, believing everything. I don't believe everything. I don't.
I
And
think
that's, go ahead.
I think our generation, and meaning mine and
Yeah.
beyond, we're the ones they're trying to get rid of because we're the ones that can tell truth from the fake news more because we question more.
Yeah.
Today's generation, they're like, they see it on their phone. They're like, okay, yeah, see, I see it here. It's, that's truth. And I'm like,
Wow.
no,
Yeah.
not necessarily.
Oh my God. That is so true. Okay. So a cousin of mine had a post, and it was about quantum physics. And it was really about saying atoms and how they move. And like, there's really a lot of space in between it. And it's just our 3D conceptual, our imagination that makes things solid, but things aren't really solid. And it's like humans have three cones of color that we see, like red. I don't know if it's red, green, and blue. And dogs only have two cones. So we see grass as green, but they see grass as beige and all this kind of stuff. So it was very scientific stuff, all science based. And somebody wrote on there, I don't know if I can believe all that. And I'm sorry, I was salty. I gave them a laughing emoji because I'm like, oh my God, this was all science based facts being presented and shown to you of what a weird world we scientifically live in. And you're saying you can't believe in it. Okay. I thought that was hilarious. Anyway, I
Well,
don't know.
in defense, there are some sciences that don't necessarily actually say what they are. They kind of fudge it so that it fits their narrative and goes, here's the
Yeah.
documentation.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, that's the medical field. Anyway, oops, I said that out loud. Anyway, moving right along quickly. Oh my
Well,
God.
even, what's funny though about the sciencey stuff is they talk about, like, you're saying the stuff about the pyramid disappeared so quickly. Remember in the 90s, they came out with and said it was all over the media for like one day. We have warp speed. And
Oh.
then it disappeared,
Hmm.
never to be heard again.
Wow.
And it's like, to me, that's pretty big news. We could
Right.
traverse space in quarter of the time now,
Right.
but nobody's interested in that. And I, I, I have issues with NASA, and it's not that they're sciencey, and all of this. It's the fact that They have had billions of dollars in research money from the 60s to today. They're still using the same technology to go into space.
Well,
But
yeah,
yet a billionaire can figure out in 5 years how to make a rocket go up and come back down. I'm
yeah,
like, all of a sudden, it's like, NASA, I'm sorry, your credibility is kind of getting flushed out of the system because your science doesn't match where we are today, and you should be
right.
ahead of where we are today.
Oh, for sure. I think it's very much like that movie Contact. Remember that with
Oh,
Jodie
yeah.
Foster? And it was like, oh, they had a spaceship and then it blew up. And she's like, oh my God, and it blew up. And then they're like, yeah, well, but here's the real deal. You know, we always make a duplicate. Here's another rocket. Oh, I'm gonna burp again. All that kind of stuff. Yeah. So there's the dark side of the government, the shadow side of the government. And and that's the things that I've known about, because and that was the time when my dad said he was going to quit or got fired or something like that, because that's the same time that I got the rose. I think that was for my time of service with the aliens and everything. But I think I was slated for Montauk. And I think that's when my dad said, no, you're not going to take her. She's not going to go to camp out in New York, Camp Montauk,
Camp
not my
Hero.
girl. Yeah. And so it was like, thank God. I mean, but it ruined his career and it ruined our family's lives. He ended up actually having to go file for bankruptcy and all this kind of stuff later on. But, so he said he would quit. The guy at his funeral said he was fired. But that at the same time, so I didn't go to Camp Montauk, was right when I found myself in the super space program and floating around in a spaceship. And you would think that that's a bunch of hooey and that's, I don't know, like fallacy or something like that. But when I went to this conference last year, other people were talking about it, which was very confirming to me about their experiences. And then I watched that movie Ender's Game. Here we go
Oh,
back
yeah.
in time again. Ender's Game, because it's like, that's the thing. If you train children to do these things, they pick it up so much quicker and easier. Because I'm sorry, Michael. I mean, I think you and I, if they gave us a bit of technology or something. I mean, I used to be able to put together stereo systems and hook it up to your TV and all that kind of stuff, which was pretty techno forward for my generation. But anyway, now these kids, they can do so many crazy things on a computer. They're just amazing, amazing, amazing. And so I think that's why they recruit children, but they don't recruit them. They just bring them into the system because they're malleable and they're quick and they learn fast, where old farts such as myself would be like, what you do what? And they'd have to tell me 20 million times. So yeah, that whole Ender's Game. And I know it just seems ridiculous that there's a space program out there, but I'm going to tell you, and I do say this often, I'm like, nobody's sitting in a tin can. Here am I sitting in a tin can. No one's doing that for 30 years to get to Mars. That's not how it happens. It's called folding time and space. Ta-da! It's more like Dune. It's more like the what did they call those guys in Dune? The navigators. Yeah, the big wormy guys. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's a little bit closer to how things actually go. So when you think about, all of this stuff that we're grinding away, that's not the truth. That's not how the rest of the galaxy works.
Yeah.
We're being fed a story, a bunch of baloney. It's another baloney sandwich, malarkey.
I'm
Anywho,
like, yeah, I'm with you. I'm like, and I find it funny when I hear these organizations are like, yeah, we're gonna all get together and we're gonna stand outside and point lasers at the sky to let the aliens know where we are. And I'm like,
oh my God,
these
don't.
people like traversed time and space to get here. I think they can find you if they
Oh,
wanted to find you. I
well,
don't
number
think
one,
they need
true.
to
Yeah.
put up a hello sign.
Yeah. Well, did you see the 3 body problem? I think it was on Netflix. And well, there's the books. And if I had time, I would it sounds like they'd be interesting books. I think maybe they're even a series. But yeah, so okay, if you want to just be like in the 3D world of the normal people, aliens aren't here, right? There's no aliens that live here, and no aliens are visiting us. So that makes the three body problem fascinating. And from my perspective, no, you don't go with a laser willy nilly going, hey, hi, we're over here, because you don't know who you're attracting. They might be praying mantises who want to eat our heads and kill all of us. So I'm like, you don't know. So bad idea. No bueno in my
Well,
book.
and my mom and I, we were watching a show that's totally not paranormal or anything. It's just interesting show. It's called SkyMed, and it's
Mm,
about this hospital that or clinic that operates in the wilderness of Alaska, where they
mm.
fly planes from location to location. And these kids were on this treasure hunt, and they were using laser pointers to try and point to a certain thing in the sky, and they hit one of the pilots in the eye,
Oh
and he
no.
goes, co-pilot, you're gonna have to take over. Why? I can't see now. Because
Wow.
the laser blinded his eye, and it took him like months to get it back. And
Are you serious?
yeah, so
That's how
that's
strong the laser
why
was?
that's why the FAA says do not shine lasers into the skies, because you literally will blind pilots.
Wow. Well, what kind of lasers are these kids using? Is this the ones for cats? Like you go on your carpet. I mean, that's the only little laser pointers I've ever known. And for gosh sake, I would imagine some dippy 10-year-old is flashing that in his friend's face 10 feet away. Or are these different lasers? They
You
got to be
know that
stronger. Because if it's blinding someone for a couple months, I mean,
I
I
would
don't know. Is
imagine
that
if
it's got to
they're
be
able to shine and like point to a star, I would imagine it's
holy
pretty
moly?
far up there, so it's got to be pretty intense. Not your, hey, we're putting a star on your lapel. Look at, we're targeting you.
Right. Yeah. Wow. That's
Right.
crazy. Poor guy. I mean, I hope he had good insurance. I mean, seriously, I'm like, I hope he got workman's comp or something like that. I mean, holy moly. That's so sad. I hope they found the kids.
Oh, they did, and they
Oh, good.
told him that the treasure was was a bottle of wine that they were looking for. It was a promotional stunt,
Oh.
according to the episode, and so I'm sure it's you
Hmm.
know whether I don't know if it would really blind permanently, but I'm sure it would. If you're at night, a bright light just shines into your eye. I'm sure it would affect you and
Well, yeah, for a
compromise you.
moment. Yeah, but I can't imagine it lasting more than brief, but what do I know? I don't know anything. So that's interesting, but sad. And I wonder if the kids might not have known. But I mean, don't kids today? You're saying how savvy kids are. Don't kids today know better than to do that, unless they're being rapscallions? You know what I mean? Because there are those out there
Yeah,
doing naughty things, ding
yeah.
dong ditching.
Learned from the best.
Yeah, there you go. So anyway, so what else do you want to talk about? Oh, you know
So,
what? Oh, go ahead.
oh, go ahead. I was shooting from the
Oh,
hip.
okay. Well, I'll tell you, because this is kind of like, and this is for your audience too. I'm sorry, but this kind of goes back to that whole programming thing and who's a clone. Because people have said like there's not a lot of humans, or there's more people that don't have souls or aren't exactly human or kind of
Oh, the
are on
NPCs.
offline. Yeah, right. Non-character players or whatever you call them. Um, so I get this when I'm driving. And actually, yesterday was super bad. Some days are better than others, but legitimately, and to your audience, I don't know. But and I almost am getting the feeling after watching the Sabrina Wallace stuff, like maybe just my energy system and how I am might trigger people who might not normally be triggered. Because when you're driving, you're kind of in a hypnagogic state. You're kind of offline a little bit, like when you're driving and all of a sudden
Mhm.
you were going to go to the grocery store, but you realize you're driving to work or something. So people are kind of relaxed and in a hypnotic state. And so I wonder, just me, who and how I am, being weird, if I trigger something in them. Because recently, and I know they're messing with me. I mean, there's a lot of energy things we could talk about, how they target me, but they're slowing down. And it's like there's a little 2-lane highway or whatever. So it's 2 lanes going one direction, 2 lanes going the other direction. And it's 50 miles an hour. And it's actually right by this. There's the Army reserves are there. The sheriff department is there. I believe that there's underground tunnels there. So it would make a lot of sense that this would happen here, that they'd actually maybe have non-character players driving around. But it's 50 miles an hour and they will be doing 40 and they block me in. Like I'm kind of blocked in. I'm like, seriously, all of you people? And now, I mean, it's got to the point where I'm like, I just laugh because I'm like, I'm either triggering them or whatever it is. Like, it's obvious. It's like their hive, like their bees or something. Like, it's not normal. And they're surrounding me or something. And I'm like, how slow are we going to go? Like, they're just getting slower and slower. And when I'm on the freeway or something, they swerve into my lane. I mean, but this has been going on for decades, that thing. Because I'll be with people and I'm driving and like, watch how they swerve into my lane. They'll go, and then when they get, when they catch up to me, then they come into my lane. I'm like, it just is a little bit scary. But I'm just wondering about other people, if they've been experiencing that or if it's just me. But I feel like it's a zombie apocalypse out there when I'm driving. Like I can hardly, I mean, I'm like, oh my God, a bunch of zombies. You're all a bunch of zombies. Because back in the day, you could just zip around and everybody seemed to be intelligent and everybody would do the things that they're supposed to do. But now they're kind of like, they legitimately look like they're zombified. And it's normal people. I'm not saying that it looks like somebody that is new to the planet, but they look like normal people. And I'm like, what is wrong with you? Why are you acting like this? So this goes back to this whole Matrix thing. I just feel like because of the 5G networks, because of the Wi-Fi stuff, these people who are not fully functional anyway, because they're so 3D, they're karmically just trying to keep themselves as normal as possible, that they're the more susceptible ones, and or there legitimately are non-character players out there. Because in my book, I also talk about when I see ghosts or whatever, they're solid. And one of them, my neighbor lady's dad, hit me in the middle of the night. He was waking me up, asking if I was going to work. I mean, he super slugged me. And whenever I've seen other ghosts, I don't see them in their death state, which some of my friends do. They see them all mangled up or whatever. I see them as perfectly normal. And, so I said in my book, I'm like, well, I wonder, because, you'll hear people say, yeah, I thought I saw Uncle Charlie at the game, or I thought I saw so-and-so, blah, 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 just briefly or whatever. And I put it forward like, maybe that's true. It's a weird world. Maybe our loved ones actually can be more than just these wispy ghosts in houses and, old farmhouses going, boo, boo, and they're like, speak into the microphone again. What? make the teddy bear blink, that kind of stuff. That maybe that some of them actually have the ability to manifest or, become 3D, because I have experienced it. I have seen it. I was with my sister one time and she's like, where did that girl go? I mean, she was perfectly solid and then she wasn't, so I'm just going to say to anybody listening, like, I know I'm saying a lot of weird stuff, but when you start to open up your mind to these things, if you think you're bored with life and life is boring, maybe take one or two of the things that I'm talking about or on Mike's show or some of the other programs that you watch or listen to or whatever, and give it a whirl. Just open up your mind for a minute and be like, whoa, what, play with the possibilities, use your imagination, and some of this stuff will start to happen. It'll start to click, and then you kind of go, oh my God, did that just happen? And it's fun. And then life is a lot more interesting or scary. Take your pick. Um, but I
I'm
choose to be, like, wow, how amazing, and what else don't we know? We're so benighted. That's sticking to that one.
I'm just like now, just sitting here thinking, if I was to go on a ghost adventure hunt with you, how entertaining it probably really would be. It'd be like more like, yeah, there's a ghost over there. So like, so
Yeah.
Dana, you were saying,
Well, we'd be laughing. The ghost would probably be like, hey, 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 they'd
like,
probably be
did y'all,
they'd be pulling our hair, where everybody else, like that Zach guy, he's like, and we'd be like, knock it off. What else you
yeah,
got?
we'd
What
be
you
like,
can't.
sitting there, yeah, I could see it now. We'd be talking to all of a sudden the EVPs are like, didn't you guys pay to talk to us?
Yeah,
We're like,
exactly.
yeah, later.
Oh my God. Now, I do have to tell you, there are some of the ghost shows that I will watch, and there's some that I won't watch. And it's depending on who and how it is, and blah, 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 blah. Because going back to frequency and all that kind of stuff, and going back to people being kind of offline and in a hypnagogic state and just kind of being chilling, that's what we're doing when we're watching TV, right? But we have to be mindful because some of these entities, and not so much the ghosts, but if there's some demonic or whatever, they can come through your television. They can come in, enter your house, maybe mess with you, maybe come inside of you if you're a weak person. And I don't mean to bring that up, but they can be destructive. So we have to be very mindful of that and shut that down and have a little curtain when you're watching these shows and everything like that. In fact, I was watching one recently and I was kind of getting the heebie-jeebies, like, something gonna come through. And legitimately, like, next to my TV was like this big, like a knight in armor and stuff like that, who had a big sword and just went in front of my TV to cut the energy off. I'm like, oh, okay, well, thank you. And yeah, so I would love to go ghost hunting, but I'm a scaredy cat. I mean, I've seen stuff. I have seen a lot of stuff. And actually, let me tell you this, ever since I got my cat, and bless her heart, because she's failing now. We don't know how many days she has left. So it's been a hard week.
Aw,
I
I'm
know.
sorry.
I know. She's my baby. She's 16 years old, but cats are amazing because they stay up at night. And I'm sorry, but I fully believe she keeps guard and she protects me. Because I mean, I go to sleep. If you think you have a hard time going to bed, try to be me for one night, because I don't know who's going to show up, what's going to show up. It could be a vortex, it could be some demon or an alien. Like, you take your pick. And no bueno. And I've tried to energetically shut a lot of that off, but I can tell she's running around, or she'll come and sit on me in the middle of the night and stuff like that. Cats are amazing that way. So I think she's scurried away a lot of closing portals, or, getting rid of unwanted nayfarers, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, and I would love to get another cat, but I don't think I could go through losing one again. And
Oh yeah,
anyway, I
took
just
me
don't
10
know.
years with my
Oh,
dogs.
your dog lived for 10 years or has been gone for 10
No,
years?
the first two dogs I grew up with, they passed away, and it was 10 years before we even
Mm,
considered adopting or rescuing again, because we were like, nope, didn't want to go through that.
I
And then
know.
I ended up doing um, rescuing one, and he like literally was jumping all over the place when we first met him, and my parents were like, no, we cannot have this dog. And I was like, oh no, this is the perfect dog for me. They're like, no,
Mm,
seriously, no. And so I went ahead and did it anyway.
mm,
And he ended up being like you're saying, the perfect guard. he would follow, and he would just lay there. If something was coming, he would rush to where they were to head it off.
Mm, mm.
And
So he
it
could
was,
see spirit?
oh, I think so. And that was his
Mm.
name.
Are you
I
kidding?
actually called him Spirit. And
Oh,
it
wow.
was like, and the thing that
Of course
amazed
I said
me,
that. Anyway, yeah.
yeah, going back to when you were saying like they don't see color the same way we do,
Mhm.
I had probably 10 tennis balls that he loved to play with, and I would have a purple one, and I'd throw them all down and go, "Where's your purple ball?" He literally would go
Mm.
through all the balls, pick up in his mouth the purple ball, and bring it to me, or I'd say,
Mhm.
"Where's the green and purple?" And he would know
Oh.
to color which one.
Wow.
And he always got it right, and I was like,
Wow.
how are you doing this? Because I was always told they were colorblind, and I'm like, he
Right.
knows every color without me saying, this is purple, this is
Wow.
orange. He knew.
That's so cool. That's animals are amazing. They're so amazing. So, oh,
Yeah,
yeah. Well, anyway, yeah. So I've got that to look forward to. So, yeah, it's been kind of a interesting week. Let's just put it that way. And then, of course, on top of it all, a lot of people, and I don't know, maybe some people in your audience, water issues. A lot of people are having water issues, and I'm certainly having water issues. And other people are reporting, like just strange water issues like something breaking or whatever, with water, la, 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 la. And I don't know if this has to do with this full moon coming up or what's going on, or maybe I don't know. Who
oh,
knows?
that's
But
right. It's the strawberry moon tonight.
is it tonight?
It is tonight.
Full moon's tonight?
Yeah.
Okay. And so then it's strawberry, and get a load of this one. My dad's mother, her maiden name was Jehoda, which is Czechoslovakian for strawberry. And it was really weird because, like, when I was coming home from that conference last year, there was a lady in the airport, and we're talking, and la la la. And I'm like, "Oh, where are you from?" And she goes, "Czechoslovakia." And I'm like, "Okay, I got a question for you. My grandmother's maiden name was Jehoda." And she goes, "Oh yeah, strawberry." So with this whole full moon, and I'm realizing this. I'm like, oh my God, I've got these water issues. My cat is passing away. I'm just maybe starting to realize kind of who and how I am because of the Sabrina Wallace thing. And I have a lot of other energy things that are going on, and just a lot of this energy stuff. Like, so there's just a lot of things happening like yesterday and today, like with the zombie
Yeah.
people. And it's got to be this full moon. Oh my God. So I think we're supposed to manifest, right? Manifest during the full moon.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah, I've
You
been
know,
having,
and
oh my gosh.
Sabrina did have the cat Salem, wasn't his name?
Oh yeah, the witch. Yeah, she did. Yeah. That was cute. I did like those shows. They were cute anyway. And then
Yeah.
Netflix had one that got a little demonic. I don't like it when shows get too demonic and stuff like that. No bueno. Anyway.
Yeah.
Uh
I actually don't have Netflix. When I found out who was on the board of Netflix, I was like,
oh. Who's on the
yeah,
board of Netflix?
like Obama and
Oh,
Soros and a lot of them. I was like,
oh.
yeah, these shows are gonna go downhill, so I'm out.
Yeah. No, I watch some of them because it's also disclosure for me to know what they're up to. Because funny you should say Obama on Netflix because they did a TV show or a movie or something like that. And I think Sandra, no, not Sandra. What was her name? Who's the pretty woman or whatever? La la la.
Julia Roberts.
Yeah, I think Julia Roberts was in it. I can't remember what the name of the show was, but it was a movie where you don't know at first what's going on. It's a husband and wife, but then you come to find out that I don't know if it's the whole planet, but much of the planet lost electrical power or something like that. So everything was shut down. So it was kind of like a pandemic. But there was a sound. I think it's been a while since I saw this, so I might not be remembering correctly. But there would be a sound, and then like some people would be affected by the sound, and other people wouldn't be affected by the sound. And when I don't know, and when I found out that this was Obama that did this show, I took notice of it a little bit more because I'm like, is this disclosure? Is this the shit that's going to be coming down towards us in, like 5 years? And they're showing it to us now, blah, 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 blah. So I don't know. Get your Faraday sleeves, people. Yeah.
Yeah,
Get your walkie talkies, get your Bofang walkie talkie and your Faraday sleeves. I don't want to
and
be that
you,
person.
yeah, my ex girlfriend did get me into Wednesday on Netflix. Oh
Oh,
my god,
yeah.
they really made her dark.
Yeah.
But then
Yeah.
at the end, they kind of the first season they kind of made her darkness is her light, and I was like, well, this is interesting. And they kept talking about season 2 coming. I was like,
Mm.
I don't know. I just don't know if I want to even delve into season 2.
Yeah, there's been a lot of and the whole entertainment industry and their whole demonic things, and just even like on Saturday Night Live, Lady Gaga was on there and stuff like that, and it's the normal people watch it and it's like they just don't register it, you'll or some award show. I think there was some award show and somebody was like dressed up and he legitimately looked like the devil or the Satan with the hooves and the horn and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, how are you people thinking that this is okay? I mean, on the flip side, so if that's satanic, right? The devil, blah, blah, blah. What if, and I'm just being the devil's advocate. What if they came out with Jesus? You never see like Jesus coming out like, or angels and stuff like that. You rarely see, Jesus or that kind of, I'm just being silly.
Yeah.
Maybe that's bad dad humor or something like that. But, and then somebody, cause I get fearful of it and I have my faith and beliefs and all these kinds of things. And I certainly don't like, you know, um, all of that and what they do to children and all these kinds of things. But then I also, because of my faith and stuff, people have reminded me or said, but that's where, my faith and my God is bigger than the devil. So I'm like, I just have to stand in my faith and then we can work and bring the light and try to push against their negative agendas, right?
Look at Disney. I mean, Disney went and all of a suddenly like you grew up with like poor Snow. What was it? Snow White or Sleeping Beauty with Maleficent. All of them had the arch villains, and you were brought up going, "Oh look, the arch villain was put down, and the good people won." And it's like, "Yay, good prevailed." And now you look at Disney, it's like, "Oh well, but look at what made Maleficent bad. We should
Right,
actually feel sorry for her." Eh,
right, right. Oh, and
they
last,
and
go ahead.
I was gonna say, and then they've got their hands in Star Wars, and they tried to do a series where they were making it under the Pride flag, and
Oh,
nobody watched it. The whole series
oh
tanked,
my God. Oh,
and it's
that's a
like,
little,
yeah, you just can't. Star Wars, they're not gonna go for that. It's like, nope,
right.
you just can't.
Yeah. Well, last night my son was over and he's like 33 years old and we were we watched Lilo and Stitch. Neither one of us had ever seen it. And this is the cartoon version. And then all of a sudden we're watching it and I'm like, "Oh, snap, that's right." Cuz there was a scene where Lilo, the little girl, is hiding, kind of like playing hide and go seek, and she's near like a washer, and it should be like a washer and dryer, but instead of a dryer, it's kind of like an open cabinet, but it's filled the cabinet with it should be big, but it's the lid of a pizza box. And I remember all of a sudden I'm like, "Oh, that's right. That years ago, it was during Pizzagate, and everybody saw in the movie here she was hiding behind and or in a pizza box." So there was like this Pizzagate thing, whatever. And so I didn't say anything to my son because he'd be like, "Oh, mom, blah blah blah, conspiracy, all that kind of stuff." But there it is, and there's no rhyme or reason for her to be this pizza box in this open cabinet that size, and her being in the box. Like, none of it made any sense. So why are you doing this? So to me, it is a symbol or symbology and stuff like that. And so I think I've seen you around a little bit on Facebook, and that, it's just how children are being targeted and all that negativity. We don't have to go there, but yeah, I'm just like,
Oh,
enough is enough with all of this kind of stuff. And they need to be blown wide open and full disclosure of what they're doing, because I think a lot of people don't realize what's going on in that industry. They're just like, "Oh, it's okay." And it's like, no, it's not okay. It needs to stop.
and
Anyway.
one of the things that I like to point out is when television first started, we were told like we were watching Dick Van Dyke's show. Everything was a show. The Lucy show,
Mm-hmm.
the news hour show. And so we were like, okay, we're watching a show. We knew this is entertainment. Then all of a sudden it became the news program. Oh, we're
Mm-hmm.
watching this program on TV. So they
Mm-hmm.
shifted the verbiage and actually started telling you, yes, we are programming you to watch this.
Yeah.
And it just went right over everybody's head.
Well, the thing is, if you're as old as you're saying you are, back in the day when we only had like 5 channels and they would sign off or sign on in the morning, and there was this is before YouTube, and this is before you even had a VHS. And if somebody did, they were like super techie, whatever. This is back in the 70s. People were like, hey, when they're doing the Pledge of Allegiance or the national anthem, watch it, because they're putting subliminal stuff in there. And everybody's like, what? No way. And then the people that did have a VHS or something, they would tape it and slow it down. And sure as Shinola, there would be subliminal messaging in there. And then everybody started to be like, oh my God, they're doing subliminal messaging. And all that stuff was coming forward. And then after a while, we don't hear about that anymore. But I guarantee you it's happening, and it's happening in the music. Like maybe there'll be a song by Billie Eilish or something like that, and maybe there'll just be a hissing sound in the background of the music, like just like a, but in that hum or something can be subliminal words and messages. I mean, so you're correct. They're not showing us anymore. They're programming us. And that is back to my Manchurian candidates or these zombie people. It's in their heads. And you've got all this 5G, and you're an electrical being. You're a big water sack. And we're walking around with a phone. So we're being targeted. We're being pinged all day long and looking down at it. I mean, it would be stupid not to say we're not being programmed, that we're not being set up. And that's kind of, for me, the future. We got to start hugging trees, people, because I don't want this integration of AI or technology integrating with humans, because I have a fear that we will be lost as humanity, as a species, as a race. I mean, what?
Yeah.
Are we going to become the Borg? I don't know. But I think there's a great possibility with this.
If I become a Borg, I want to be Hugh.
Patrick Stewart, he was so funny being Borg. But anyway. Anyhow. But I mean, seriously, it could happen. And
No, I
some
know.
people will choose it. People will choose it. We are already implanting ourselves. And Mike, I don't know if you know, and that was the other thing. I had it. Well, I was implanted. I remember getting an implant, but then an implant came out of the back of my neck as an adult, probably about 25 years ago, and my neighbor witnessed it. And thank God. See, God always protects me. And I have a lot of witnesses for the strange things that happened to me, and I'm grateful for that. But she saw when the implant micro whatever microchip came out of the back of my neck, and I was like, what the heck is this? And then she put it on her finger, and we were trying to like see if it was dirt or something that it would crumble, and sure enough it was like metal. And then as we were examining it, it disintegrated, you know. And I'm like, where'd that come from? How long has it been here? Who's tracking? You know, like I have a lot of questions. I don't have a lot of answers. But, you know, that's another thing. But I just feel like people, and not, okay, secondarily, we have all this 5G and 6G technology that's pinging us and changing our thought forms, programming on TV. But I will also tell you that during all of these things, I mean, if you don't mind getting a little weirder for those people who want to shift down another gear, yeah, I think there is, I'll say it in general terms. I do believe there's another alien life form. There's a species that lives here on the planet, 3D. They live here 3D. They also live here as, I call it taking on the mantle. Like I believe certain politicos, certain entertainers, royal families will take on the mantle, whereas it's kind of like, there's half of this entity living in there and they can shapeshift and transform and come forward. Okay, I know that sounds really weird, but here's the secret part. This is the part that I'm sussing out, or whatever you want to say in today's genre, that people are being programmed through this alien species, in that there's a walk-in, like a walk-in into your body, into your system, into your subconscious, that's lingering back there. So this entity is here, but it's like a running program, like a running computer program, just mulling along back there like a virus, so that at any moment, if they wanted to, they could bring those online. And then now you do have zombie people. So it wouldn't be like The Last of Us, where we have mushroom zombies, which was brilliant. I think that was most excellent, because that could actually kind of happen. But I think if there was to be a zombie apocalypse, it would be alien infestation. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. But
Kind of
I mean,
reminds me of that show that was on for like, I don't even know if it had a full season, but it was called Brain Dead, I think.
never heard of
And
that.
ants were crawling around, and if you got stung by an ant, all of a sudden you were controlled.
Oh God. Well, yeah. Okay. Well, that's what happens in the insect world. There are insects that will take over a host. Like, I don't remember, it's some worm. It'll like could take over like a bigger insect. Like, let's say there would be like a frog, and this worm would attack the frog, and then it would make the frog do all this stuff. I mean, that's real science. That really does happen. So that's why what I'm trying to present here with this other species that I fully believe is here, because I've seen some stuff, um, that they're infiltrating us in an actual zombie apocalypse type situation with a virus that is lingering inside some people. I'm, I'm, I will put some money on that. I'm not sure where that's going to go, but knowing how things are and witnessing the things that I have and experiencing stuff and blah blah blah, I think we have to be very careful of that. And okay, one more thing is, last I'm on it. While you're watching TV and while you're watching the programming, have you ever noticed how they keep playing the movie Independence Day? I mean, that show is on all the time, all the time. And if that's not programming, here's the thing: the power that be and or AI, they're not creators. We are creators. We are divine spirits. We are God's children. We can create. You know, women can have babies, all this kind of stuff. Blah blah blah. They can't, so they have to use us. And where was I going with that one? The shows. Well, it'll come back to me. I'm sorry, I'm getting tired. But
Well, one thing I'll point out is it's interesting for you being Independence Day.
oh
For
yeah,
me, it
okay.
was the Star Trek, or not Star Trek, Star Wars original trilogy. Is I'd always be like, oh yeah, I wish I could see that again. And then I'd be flipping the channel and there it would be on. Or if I was
Right.
traveling in a hotel flipping channels, I'd go, oh good, Star
There
Wars
you
is
go.
on. I could be
Thank,
entertained tonight.
thank you for bringing that up because that was the point. I'm like, why do they keep showing Independence Day? So you have to be very careful when you're watching Netflix or any of these shows, especially if they're dystopian, like a bad future, a negative future or something like that. I mean, go ahead, watch it. That's fine, bloopity blop. But don't ruminate about it or think about it or keep going back to it or fantasize or imagine it in your head and stuff like that, because that's how I'm gonna burp again. That's how they can bring it forward. They can't create it. We create it. We create through our imagination. We manifest things. That's how manifestation happens. They can't do that, so they have to use humans to get to their dystopian future, and that's how they can enslave us even more. I don't mean to be so negative, or whatever. I'm just trying to say these are the things that are going on, and so please be very careful of your mind with this programming, and be mindful and bring peaceful things, harmony into your life and harmony into your thoughts, because I think like we're also experiencing a lot of anxiety and stress and all this kind of stuff. And oh my God, we're being bombarded by 5G and all this kind of stuff and this programming. So legitimately doing mindful things like meditating or whatever, something to check out of this matrix. Go hug a tree, for God's sake. Go be in nature, connect to nature. And that's what helps nature connect to us and stay vibrant. Because if we don't do this, they can use our thought forms to manifest their negative future and a negative outcome. So thank you for bringing that up, because I was like,
Yeah.
I'm getting I'm getting tired. It's late. Oh God, it is. Okay, I probably gotta get going, you guys.
Yeah.
I
Um.
It's past my
w-
bedtime. I'm old.
Well, before you go, do you want to promote out your book?
Yes, and I brought it up. Thank you a couple of times. So I appreciate your bringing it up. But anyway, yeah, it's behind me. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, it's called. It's called. This is gonna sound weird. I mean, heck, what else was I gonna call it? That's me. I mean, seriously, I'm like, well, actually, a friend of mine. I was going on and on. I'm like, I don't know what to call it. I don't know what to call it. And she goes, well, how about, how you're talking to friends, like, how this is going to sound weird. She's like, why don't you just call it that? This is going to sound weird. I'm like, you're brilliant. Thank you so much. So, and then I was kind of like, I kept really trying to like come up with something different, but anyway, so I wrote it. There it is. You can find it on Amazon. Thank you very much. I get a whole maybe $2. I mean, you don't make money from these things. You really don't. And you don't get money from podcasts either. This is a passion, people. People, thank you, Michael, to holding space for people such as myself. We're doing this from passion because we're not nobody. If somebody's getting paid for it, well, good for them. But it's not certainly not me. I'm also on Barnes and Noble. You can find my book there. And I have a website called DanaLouise.com, which has some of my videos that I've made explaining some things. And then it could point you towards like my YouTube that has more of the videos. I really didn't enjoy making the videos, but my son said, Mom, you got to make some content. People want content. They want to see you. And I'm like, oh God, why can't you just write a book and be done with it? But anyway, so I appreciate everybody's time for listening to us blabbing on and on. But Michael, thank you for holding space for people such as myself, because that's a very honorable thing and a healing thing. All the people that you're bringing forward, all the wonderful guests that you have. It's important work, And I wish you were getting paid a lot of money for this. I don't think you are, right? You're not a
No.
millionaire. Oh, okay, that's what I thought. But maybe someday, because that would be the that would be the right thing in this universe for me. But so thank you
Yeah.
for holding space for us
Well,
and
thank
for
you as
everybody
well.
listening.
Yeah. And hopefully we'll have you back on because there's so much more I feel like we still have yet to talk about.
I know. Well, thank you so much, and I'll see you around on Facebook
Yeah.
if nothing else, blah blah blah, and or anybody else reach out to me if you have a story or something like that, all that good stuff. So anyway, keep your thoughts, happy thoughts.
Happy
Whatever.
thought.
Happy
Put
skip and
into
jump.
Peter Pan mode.
No, but do random acts of kindness and stuff like that. Try to spread positivity, but not in a toxic way. We all heard about this toxic stuff, but we're all
Yeah.
done with toxicity. Anyway, but I mean, just be a good person, okay? Is that so hard? Anyway, all right.
Well, that depends on which person you ask.
Yeah, I know. But anyway, I try.
Yeah.
Anyhow, all right. Well, I should let you go.
Balance it out.
All
But
right.
yeah, thank you so much, and look forward to having you on again and chatting with you on Facebook.
Thank you. See you guys later.
And one last thing, really quick, is I want to say it's something I've been drawn to doing, and that is thank you for your service to humanity, Dana. It is so
Oh,
important.
thank you for saying that. It's not easy to do this, let me tell you, because they do come after you, as you well
Oh
know.
yeah.
Oh, we got stories about that. Could be a whole show.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, this isn't easy. And the work you do, yeah, you get targeted, I get targeted, we are targeted all. And when we get together, yeah, yeah, they try to shut us down. So, yeah, hopefully this
Yeah.
video will make it because some of them
Oh,
don't.
it'll make it. I'll make sure that I plastered out quite a lot.
Okay, that's
So
awesome.
hopefully they
Well,
won't
thank you
get
for your
all
kind
of it.
words. Yeah.
Thank
Well,
you.
but thank you for your kind words. That means a lot. Yeah, because this is a pilgrimage and it's pretty lonely out here. So thank you for recognizing that.
Yes.
Oh,
And Woo Rider says she lifts my spirit in a positive way. Thank you, Mikey and Dana.
Thank you.
And says Dana always brings great energy, much appreciation. God bless to all.
Oh, thank you, whoever said that. I
That would be
appreciate it.
Derek. And
But okay, thanks.
but we are going to end it here because yes, it is getting late, and so stay tuned.
Past my
Keep
bed.
following along. Like the videos to help with the algorithms. And follow along because you never know when Dana may be popping up next.
You never know.
Oh, wait, I did not time that out right because I was on the wrong screen. I was like, gonna bleep out right to the outro, and I was like, oh, wait, I'm not on that screen. All right, everyone. Good night.
All right.